And we're back.
Thanks, everybody. Want to thank Henry Kinch, Bob Whitcomb, Ray Rickman, all-star lineup. Got an opportunity to talk about everything from sexual harassment to polling to the Paw Sox. But and a story broke today on Go Local. I think it's concerning to everybody. I want to introduce Adriel Antoine, who's the head of the NAACP at Providence College. Senior, welcome. Put your foot right there, camera right there. You know, this is pretty significant. If you haven't seen the story, it's live on Go Local. Students bantering back on Snapchat, a white student with caption, using the N-word. It is almost unbelievable that in 2017, folks are using it within that context of mocking and harassment. Talk a little bit about how you came to know about it and what your reaction was.
Yeah, so it was initially put in a group chat around like 10:15 last night, and I'm an RA, so the first thing that goes to my mind is I gotta report this to somebody. So I texted it to the hall director on call and did all the protocol that goes with that, and then from there it kind of just took off. Security responded to the situation, did what they do, and administrators were notified right after that and all that stuff. And I guess once social media got a hand of it, like Twitter, Facebook, and all that stuff, it just kind of blew up. Like my phone hasn't stopped vibrating since since this morning, and I had to mute it now just because I know it'd be going off crazy.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of people has been able to see it. I think it's very unfortunate that we have to still go through this at PC. We've made a good amount of progress these past few years, and it's kind of sad to see that we're still just getting it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of thing. So.
And, you know, I don't mean to beat up on PC, and we have this discussion with Providence College officials all the time when these things come forward. And I know that there's a different effort by the president. You can feel it, that it's a legitimate effort to try and improve the community over there. It's just going to take time, but here's what's so disturbing about it. There is no, at age 3, you know not to steal, right? At age 4, not to drop the N-word and not to use it in any context. It's hurtful, it's damaging, it's inappropriate, and it's pretty well universally known. How does this even happen? Is it just the lack of, is it just the stupidness of being a college student? Is it just arrogance? Is it the lack of understanding? Enlighten us a little bit.
Well, I think everybody comes from different lived experience, different backgrounds. People are from all over the country, all over the world. So everybody gets raised differently by whoever their parents are, whoever are influenced of their lives. So you can't assume that everybody has the same knowledge, background, and experiences. So I don't want to put any blame towards that. I just think that it's an unfortunate situation, but it is a pattern that's been reoccurring at Providence College. And I think that over the years, I think that the response from PC has gotten better. I remember a couple years back, it would take days for something like this to reach the student body.
Yeah.
But it was, we got an email from our VP of Student Affairs, Christine Goodwin, and Father Shanley sent out an email about 30 minutes ago. So it's much more quicker now. So I guess the only thing we can do is it is going to take time. We have to wait. We have to see how we can try and change this culture that keeps allowing this to happen at PC.
You know, it's funny, when we launched in 2010 and we did a very significant analysis of PC. Yeah. We were looking at all the colleges and looking at issues. PC was one, and we talked to former players, alumni, non-athletes who are African American, and they all really expressed the same thing 7-8 years ago about the frustration and the lack of sense of being welcomed. One of the it's in the article. One of the star recruits said, "I got there, I literally wanted to get back on the bus and go home." How does the school? Is it just a matter of numbers too, that there's got to be a better dedication from a recruitment standpoint and admission standpoint, that you need enough in a community that people can feel more comfortable and then allow folks to interact on a more reasonable level? Is that part of it?
I think it's numbers, but I think it's also structure. I think in our student demands that we made 2 years ago, we talked about diversifying the student body, but also diversifying...
Was this from the sit-in in the president's office?
Yes. Yeah. We talked about diversifying the student body, but as well diversifying faculty, staff, administration, and Providence College as a whole, because you can have the critical mass of numbers of students, but if there's no support system for them, then they're just all going to experience the same things, and we're all not going to have anybody to go to. So I think a well-rounded diversification of the school is improved over the years. Like you said, from 2010 to now, it's definitely gone up percentage-wise, but I think we just can't get complacent. We can't get comfortable with the numbers that we have now. We have to work towards improving that number.
Where did you come from? Where did you grow up?
I came from Randolph, Mass.
Okay, so you came from Randolph,
Yeah.
and you could have gone to any number of colleges and universities.
Yeah.
Why'd you pick PC?
PC gave me a good amount of financial aid. I'm a multicultural, I'm a MSB scholar, so I'm on the MLK scholarship, and it's a full tuition scholarship, so it kind of made the decision easy to where I'm not too far from home, I'm not too close, but
the perfect distance
in between.
Almost laundry, but
food and stuff like that. But I also debt, like college debt. I'm not going to have a huge amount of student loans when I graduate in May. So that combination made my decision to PC.
And you're a political science major, Black Studies major. In your classes, in your curriculum, is that are your classes diverse?
I think it depends on what class it is specifically. Some classes I'll be one of maybe two students of color, but some classes
Out of how many in the room?
Give or take 15 to 20, depending on, and then like there are some times where I am in a good amount of group of like 10 of like 20, like half the class is of color and stuff like that. It all depends on I guess the field that you're in, because like we have a core curriculum, so we're not just stuck into our major. We have to take other classes outside of our major, so it also does vary on that as well.
Well, this, and as I said, I don't want to go into too much of the graphic element of it, but obviously it was a Snapchat conversation. You can see it and read about it, and there's a lot of explanation about it. What should happen out of this? How should the community at PC deal with this? How do they deal with the students who are involved with it, and how do they move forward so it's still a great college year and it doesn't become something that blows the community apart? Because situations like this can really create some issues.
I think in terms of the students, that's up to community standards, and that investigation, we'll leave that to security, and the guys will deal with that. Because we don't really have a say in what happens there. We just have to trust the process. And
do you trust the process?
You have to. Because without that, then you can't ask the school to get better and not trust them to do it themselves. So you have to trust the process with that. And I think as a community, we just have to come together. It's something that we've been trying to do the past few years more intentionally, but I think that we shouldn't allow this to separate us more. We already are number one in that prison review article for most segregated schools. So I think that this time especially with Halloween going around, things like this happen all around the country. But I think that if we just come together as a student body, as a critical mass of 3,700 students approximately, that we can put this behind us and continue to move forward instead of going backwards.
Talk about how when you first experienced it, is it something that you just put your head down and go, oh, what are we doing here?
It's interesting because throughout the day yesterday, I was having conversations with people and just like, imagine like, what if something like this happens on our campus? Like, what if like we get a student with blackface and it goes all over the place and stuff like that? And it's crazy because I'm looking at my phone around like 10:15. I get the text message. I'm just like, there's no way. And like,
you gotta let folks know they should dress up like their favorite Go Local Live host,
honestly,
right?
My dress was you, So sometimes it comes as a surprise. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. It happens a lot at BC, unfortunately. So it didn't come out of left field. Like I said, we were talking about it, so it almost makes sense that it did happen, but it's unfortunate, and I think that we just have to try and better educate our students so that they know. You're
a smart guy, you're articulate, you're definitely demonstrating some leadership across the board. You're a senior. What do you want to do?
I want to work in higher education. I want to go to grad school next year and pursue education in higher education administration, and go forward from there, be a dean hopefully, and be able to affect the student body the way I've been doing it. PC.
That's great. Listen, we want to stay in touch. We want to have you back.
Most definitely.
And it doesn't always have to be on a negative issue.
Yeah.
But let's talk every 4-6 weeks and try and get you back over here and have a conversation now that, you know, it's such a remarkable period of time in which maybe it's not the most positive under the Trump administration, but it is actually remarkable. We talk more about race now than we did under Obama. It's kind of the craziest thing of all time.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's been a polarizing situation since I guess he's been in office, but it's something that's always been there.
Right.
Anyways, I guess it's just more in our face.
Yeah.
But, I definitely think that is something that does need to get addressed around the country.
Is it better, let me ask you a question, is it better that it gets flushed out, that really people have these conversations? We reported on a story, yesterday was our #1 story, forget all the deep dark, it was a woman who walked into a cafe in Narragansett, and the owner came over and said, "Oh, I hope you're having a good day." She says, "I haven't had a good day since President Trump got elected." He then challenges her and says, "Well, President Trump's great on this and that and the other thing." It ends up in functionally a brawl, going into the parking lot, and a no trespass order. So,
it's unfortunate.
But
really
on the flip
unfortunate.
side, you say, well, maybe it's better that people talk these things out. I don't know. It's way above my pay level.
Hopefully you don't see like fights break out like that. But I do think that getting a conversation going is one step to doing it. Because if you have two different opinions, that doesn't mean one is necessarily right, one's wrong.
Absolutely.
And the only way you can get to some kind of common ground, or at least some understanding, is to have those conversations. So hopefully the first part of that event happens and the fight stays away. But
I mean, we're trying a strategy to get them together and see if we can get them. Stay right here. I want to thank everybody. Thank you so much for coming over. You know, I think you articulated the issues extremely well. And you know, Providence College is such an important part to the community here in Providence and the state of Rhode Island. So many folks who live here are graduates of it, and it plays such a key role in the Rhode Island fabric of the community. Anything we can do to bring attention to it and find solutions to it, I think is helpful for everybody. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today, Thursday, Go Local Live. We'll be back tomorrow. 3 o'clock hour is Molly O'Brien, and at 4 o'clock is Kate Nagel, our news editor. Thanks everybody, and see you. Thanks everybody, and see you. Thanks everybody, and see you. Thanks everybody.